First thing that you're gonna need is you're gonna need a 1/4 inch screwdriver. It's also called a number 2, I believe, and this is a Phillips screwdriver, so it's got the star end. The next thing that you're gonna need is you're gonna need a little flathead screwdriver just like this one right here. This works perfectly. Very important to get this right. You need a 4mm Allen wrench, a hex wrench as it's called. You can maybe see that right there. Yeah, very important to get the size right. Don't make the mistake that I made when I was a teenager and use the improper size, because you will strip the nut on your Les Paul or your whatever other guitar you're doing this to. And that, in my opinion, you're more likely to damage your guitar using an improper wrench than adjusting the truss rod yourself. So make sure you use the right one. On my Les Paul Custom, which was made in Korea, I believe in 2001, which is the year before they shipped off to a different country, Indonesia, I think. And they still use the 4mm hex wrenches. For you, it might be something different. So make sure you do your research, figure it out. But for mine, it's 4mm. The next thing is also a Mityu Toyo straight ruler. This is a great, cost-effective, cheap, high-quality ruler. People buy it from my site, Traveling Guitarist, all the time. It's a very good ruler for the price. I really recommend it. I recommend a microfiber cloth too. Now this is just a regular dish cloth, but I would recommend a microfiber. They're much easier to clean with. Additionally, you're gonna want a fine cloth for doing the final polish. Here's some Gibson polish too, like I showed in my other tutorial. I really recommend a snark tuner. This makes setting up your guitar super easy. You don't need to plug it in. You don't need to do anything. You don't need to go get your 1/4 inch cable to plug into your tuner or anything. You just put it on the headstock and you can bring it to tune exactly the way you need it immediately. Very, very efficient. A capo is gonna save your life too. This is awesome for setting up your guitar. Feeler gauges. I recommend getting high quality feeler gauges. I got mine off Amazon like 8 years ago. I recommend not spending at least $50 because it makes a difference. These are very good for adjusting the truss rod and getting the right measurement. They're the best way I've found anyway. And then I use a desk light. This is optional, but I find having this desk light, which you can probably see right here. You see that desk light? Yeah. I'll link to it on Amazon. It's very good for adjusting the truss rod for a reason I'll show later, because you can shine the light on the feeler gauge and then it'll reflect up so you can actually see the distance between the feeler gauge and the string. And finally, I recommend 2 towels. I just held up 2 hands, so that'd be 4, but 2. You lay your one towel on your desk and then you use your other towel to hold up the neck. So that's what I do. Now you could use tools from Music Nomad that will do these things for you. For instance, you can get like the thing that holds up the neck, and then you can have like an actual mat that's made for this exact purpose. But if you want to save a bit of cash, just use towels. That'll work fine. That being said, I'm certainly not averse to spending money on stuff like that because I find in many cases it's worth it. So the first thing I do is I move all the stuff off my desk. I got a limited amount of space in my place, so I really make do with the surfaces that I have. So I remove all my keyboard and my mouse, and I just lay the towel flat like this, and then I fold the other towel like so I can set the guitar on top of the towel. That elevates the neck, and then I'm able to get at the tuning pegs and everything else much easier. But anyway, now that we got that out of the way, I'm gonna tell you about the acronym that I came up with. It's TAIP, T-A-I-P, and that stands for truss rod, action, intonation, and pickup height. So you wanna adjust those things in that order. This is how I do it anyway. People got different ways of doing things. This is how I go about it. And then once I've done that all once, I'll usually have to do the entire process again the following day because it takes a bit for the neck to settle in. It takes a bit for the truss rod inside the neck to get to the point where it needs to be. So as I said, we're gonna adjust the truss rod first, and we do that with this capo right here. So we're gonna put that on the very first fret. We're gonna go like that. Then we're gonna take the feeler gauges and we're gonna choose about, I know that there's far too much relief on this neck. So we're gonna start with 12 1/1000ths of an inch. So that's 0.012. I believe that's how it's called. I'm not familiar with the imperial system. I'm Canadian, so I use the metric. Yeah, so 12 1/1000ths of an inch. And I'm gonna hold down on the 17th fret like so with my finger. And then I'm gonna slip the gauge underneath about the 8th or the 9th fret. And I'm gonna see if it can fit underneath there. And now here's a trick. This is where the desk light comes in handy. So you pull your desk light down like this, and I shine it like that, right on the neck. That way when I stick the truss rod, that way when I stick the feeler gauge underneath the string to take the measurement, the light will shine off the top of the feeler gauge, and you can see exactly how much distance there is between the feeler gauge and in the bottom of the string. So yeah, let's figure out where we're at. As I said, we're much bigger than 12 1/1000ths of an inch. Yeah, we might even be like 21 1/1000ths of an inch. Now, it's important to note that the best way to measure the truss rod is actually not like this. The best way is to hold it on its side and hold it on your and to hold it in playing position. I find that this is good enough for doing it like this, especially for demonstration's sake. So the first thing we're gonna do actually is we're gonna detune the two strings, the D and the G. And we're gonna do that because it's just gonna make it easier to get the truss rod wrench into the hole. And this is also gonna stop us from stripping the nut unnecessarily. So we're gonna stick this in here just like so. Now, thankfully, I figured out how to use the proper wrench years ago, so I haven't stripped the nut any more than it already is. But anyway, so if you want to tighten the truss rod, you turn it clockwise. And if you want to loosen the truss rod, you turn it counterclockwise. So if there's too much distance between the feeler gauge and the bottom of the string, that means you've got too much relief. You turn it clockwise. And if there's no distance between the feeler gauge and the string, you want to turn it counterclockwise to give it relief. So in this case, we've got a ton of relief. And so we're actually gonna give it a good turn. We're gonna give it even like a, I would say an 1/8 to 1/4. I'm gonna loosen it first, and then I'm gonna tighten it. So now we're gonna grab the Snark tuner, this guy right here. We're gonna put him on, and we're actually gonna tune it up to standard right now. And this is where the towel comes in handy. We can actually tune the tuning pegs without it getting in the way of the table. It's nice to have an electric string winder. Unfortunately, I don't have one, but you can get one from Ernie Ball where it's electric and it'll do it very quickly. I recommend getting one of those. I need to get one too, obviously. But yeah, those are pretty cool. There we go. So the truss rod is tight, it's tightened. We've tuned the guitar. Now we're actually gonna have another quick look. Now again, the best way to measure it is to put it in playing position and to measure it that way. But this is gonna give us a good ballpark measurement at first. And then tomorrow, when I'm ready to reset it up again the second time, we'll put it in playing position, we'll get the more accurate measurement, and we can go from there. Let's get the 12/1000th, the 12/1000th. That's an impossible word to say, 12/1000ths. It's a hard word. And we're gonna try that again and we'll see how it's doing. We probably got a bit of a difference already. Yeah, so there's still quite a bit of relief. So I'm gonna turn it one more time, except we're gonna go a much shorter turn this time. We're gonna go by maybe, I don't know, a 1/16 of a turn. And you notice that we didn't need to remove the strings there. And that's because with the way that the nut was situated inside the joint, whatever you want to call it, we were able to get the wrench in there so we weren't in the way of any of the strings. Great, so the truss rod has been adjusted, and as I said, we're gonna come back to it tomorrow. We're gonna do the measurement in the playing position, and then we're gonna get a more accurate reading on the proper relief. But anyway, so we got the T out of the way, we got the truss rod adjusted. Now you would put your cover back on. I lost mine, unfortunately, so I don't need to do that, but you'll need to do that with your 1/4" screwdriver. So from there, we're gonna actually adjust the action. And this is where the Mityu Yodo ruler comes in handy. We're gonna use that to measure the strings. A good judgment is to go 5/64 on the low E side, 5/64 and then 4/64. If you can get it to 4/64 and 3/64 on the high E. So again, 4/64 on the low E, 3/64 on the other side. That's a pretty good action, I would say. Some people can get it better. It also depends on your guitar, but I would aim for somewhere around there. And again, you'd be measuring that at the 12th fret with no capo or no nothing. And tomorrow we're gonna try and get this truss rod relief set at about 8/1000ths of an inch. Somewhere between 6 and 10/1000ths of an inch, I think is a good way to go. I usually try and get 8 or 9. So now I'm gonna get the guitar into playing position right now, and I'm gonna measure the action like that at the 12th fret with the Mityu Yodo ruler. Mityu Toyo, I mean. So it's about 4.5/64 on both sides. I'm gonna adjust it so it's, again, 5/64 on the low E and 4/64 on the high E. And what we're gonna do now, so we're actually gonna detune the guitar. This is gonna make lowering or raising the action much easier. Now I'm gonna take my flathead screwdriver and I'm gonna adjust the action at the bridge. Now, if you wanna raise the action, what you do is you turn it counterclockwise, so that's gonna bring the strings away from the neck. And if you wanna lower the action, you wanna turn it clockwise, and that's gonna bring it down closer to the body, so that will lower the action. So I'm gonna turn this one about, I'd say that was 1. And I'm gonna bring this one back up a full turn like that. Might even go a little bit more. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put it back in playing position, and I'm gonna see how that adjusted it. So we're a little bit closer, so I'm gonna do a little bit more. With the action down here at the high E, I'm gonna turn it a little bit more to lower the action. And then this one, we're gonna lower the action a little bit too, just a wee bit. Then I'm gonna tune it again, and then we're gonna measure it. There, we're all tuned up, so I'm gonna measure it again. It's about 5/64 on the low side, and almost right on 4/64 on the high E. So what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna lower it a wee bit more. I'm gonna lower it a little bit more on the high E side. So I'm gonna turn this again clockwise by just a little bit, and that'll probably bring me to where I wanna be. So there, now we got the action set up. So remember the acronym TAPE, T-A-I-P, truss rod action, intonation, pickup height. So now we're gonna adjust the intonation. And now I usually do that with a snark tuner as well. It's not the best to use a snark tuner. You'd be better off to use a more accurate tuner for the intonation, but I find that using a snark tuner works just fine for it. You need to tune the guitar as well as you can with the tuner. That G is pesky. There we go, perfectly tuned. So we're gonna measure the same notes and the same strings, but we're gonna measure them at the 12th fret with a harmonic. So we're gonna go like this. We're gonna hit E. Then we're gonna hit the harmonic. There, so that's perfectly intonated. We're gonna hit this one, B. We're gonna stop it, we're gonna mute it. And then we're gonna hit the harmonic. That one's intonated pretty good too. We're gonna hit the G, we're gonna mute it, then we're gonna hit the harmonic. So that one's good too. And then we're gonna hit the D, where I'm gonna stop it, I'm gonna hit the harmonic. That one's okay too. We're gonna hit the A, then we're gonna stop it, and then we're gonna hit the harmonic. So this one's out a little bit. So the reason why I pause it in between is because I don't want the previous struck note to influence the tuning of the next note after. Yeah, so this one's the intonation on the low A is a little bit out. So we're gonna hit the harmonic on the low E as well. And it's really out. Yeah, so the E and the A, those are out quite a bit because they're both flat. So we're gonna shorten the distance between the saddle and the top of the neck. So that's actually gonna make the note sharper. And if you were to make the distance longer, it would make the note flatter. Think of how a bass works. It has longer strings because it's accommodating for the fact that it's lower in pitch. So yes, we wanna make the distance shorter. So we're gonna do that by bringing the saddles this way, up towards the nut. So again, we're gonna raise the pitch of these two strings, the low E and the A, by bringing the saddle towards the nut, and we do that by turning the screw counterclockwise. So let's do that now. First, we're gonna detune the two strings though. So let's tune these counterclockwise. If you wanna raise the pitch, you wanna bring the saddle closer to the nut. So that means you're gonna turn it clockwise. So now we're gonna tune it back up. And while we're at it, we're gonna tune the whole guitar back up, back to 100%. That way none of the other strings are pulling it out of whack. So again, let's check the intonation. We're gonna get this to a perfect E first. We're gonna get that to a perfect A. Now actually the high E string is hitting the pickup because after we adjusted the action, now the pickup height is too high, so that E, it's hitting the pickup. But that's not gonna adjust our intonation. But that's something that you have to watch out for, especially with active pickups. You have to make sure that the pickup is a little bit further away on account of the higher output of the pickup. So let's check this harmonic now. There, that's much better. Let's try it again. Yes. So now let's hit the A. It's a little bit flat. There we go. So let's hit the harmonic now. Okay, so we're gonna tune it a little bit more sharp. There we go, now let's hit the harmonic. It's almost there. We need to bring it a little bit more forward in order to fix that up. And I gotta lower that pickup right now. I can't stand the way it's buzzing like that. There we go, let's drop that bad boy. There we go. There, so let's check the intonation now. Okay, so now we got the intonation part handled. So we got the truss rod taken care of. we got the action taken care of, we got the intonation taken care of. Now we're gonna adjust the pickup height. So to do that, this is probably the easiest part because there's no fancy shenanigans. You just use your ruler and you use your 1/4 inch screwdriver or your number 2 screwdriver. So to do this, what you do is you depress the very last fret on your guitar, as what's shown with my finger here, and then you take your ruler and you measure the pickup height. I usually do it from the front of the pickup. On the bridge pickup, I do it at the very front of the pickup, and then on the neck pickup, I do it towards the back of that pickup. Let's adjust the bridge pickup first. I usually aim for 3/32 seconds on the neck pickup, and then I aim for 1/16 on the bridge pickup. Now, it's a little bit above 1/16, but I'm happy with that because these are active pickups. So they're already high output. The magnet is pretty strong, so we don't need it to go any higher. So on the other side, we want 3/30 seconds. So we're gonna find 3/30 seconds on this ruler because it's got everything on it. And we're gonna get 3/30 seconds on this one, on the neck pickup, excuse me. And yeah, it's actually 3/30 seconds right on. So I'm happy with that. So we're all good to go. This guitar is set up. The truss rod's set up, the action set up, the intonation set up, the pickup height's set up, and that's everything. So tomorrow I'm gonna do as I said, and I'm going to adjust the truss rod again, but except in the playing position, I'm gonna measure it that way. And then I'm gonna set everything up one more time from there, and then that'll be it. There, you got a set up Epiphone Les Paul.